Welcome back to the Student Pilot Cast, everyone. I'm excited to be doing something a little different this week and going back to an interview format. In today's episode, I get to talk to Tim, who's a relatively new pilot, and I think he has a rather unique story about how he got interested in flying and why he persevered through his training. I hope you enjoy episode 51, A Sit Down with a New Pilot.
Chandler Tower, Cherokee 4121 Tango is at Chandler Air Service. We have Zulu, and we'd like a south departure, please.
What does it take to be an angel? Where does the sun go when it sleeps? Is every star that shines so brightly in the sky?
Hello, everyone. As I said, this week we get a little something different. We'll get back to part 2 of my instrument makeup flight next week, but I wanted to throw in the audio from a sit-down I had with an old friend and colleague when we recently reconnected after several years because of aviation. He had let me know that he had just learned to fly last year, but I didn't know a lot of details, and I purposely held off asking for them until we had a chance to sit down and talk with the audio being recorded. Tim has a bit of a different backstory for his aviation interest, and in my opinion has some pretty interesting reasons for seeing his training through. It was a really enjoyable conversation for me, and I hope you have a good time as well. So here's my friend, Tim, and a bit of his story. I am privileged today to be with an old friend, and we worked together a long time ago. Tim Omta, my coworker and my friend, is here with me today, and Tim is a relatively recent pilot. Recently certificated pilot. So Tim, how you doing?
I am doing well. Thank you. How are you, Bill?
I'm doing great. And It's really, really fun to do an interview in person. This is awesome.
I know, right? Like I said, I don't get out much. I'm a real nerd. So
yeah, you described half of the aviation world. So just to get started, get the ball rolling here, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. Yeah. As Bill mentioned, I work with him in the IT industry. So we work in the software industry. I was raised a farm boy up in Washington State, Eastern Washington, through a number of different circumstances. Ended up down in Arizona in 2002. I guess fast forward a bit, this strange thing around the end of 2019 hit called COVID. And in my circumstances right now, I live alone. So at that point, everything shut down during that time period. All the restaurants started to close under federal mandate. I'm active in my church, so that's a lot of social life for me too. Even all of that shut down. So basically, all of my travel for work shut down. So I was stuck in a house with kind of some drying up customer calls, because even the customers began to go a little bit more dormant. They had their own challenges through all of this. And I was like, okay, I got to find something to do to engage my mind and body, get out of the house in order not to go nuts. So I live by a airfield called Falcon Field in where I live now, Mesa, Arizona. I went over there and got an intro flight at Red Rock Flight School, and I won't say I was relaxed, but I went up and we just took it was beautiful flight, wonderful weather, as we generally always have here in Arizona. Wonderful weather, beautiful flight over all the red desert, and we have some lakes and so forth. And I enjoyed the experience. I was not at ease because there was so much to watch, even though the trainer, of course, was taking care of most of it. There were so many instruments, and the 3 degrees of movement, and the fact that the fluid you're moving in, the air, is moving itself and pushing you around. A lot of different things that I wasn't used to and were frankly unsettling. But I decided to push forward and enrolled in the school and got myself a spot on your podcast all because of it.
Well, that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
That is awesome. Well, what got you interested in aviation? Is this recent, or is this something you've kind of thought about your whole life?
COVID, really. That is what made me decide to take the step. I had to get out. I had to do something that I knew would stretch me. Did I have any idea how much it would stretch me? No, I didn't. It stretched me in every way, mentally, physically, and emotionally. Why do I say that? I say mentally because lesson 1 was buying $700 worth of books. That was it was a stack of books a foot high, literally, when I piled them up, about instrumentation, about the laws, the rules, and so forth. And so forth. So there's a lot of mental knowledge, a lot of knowledge acquisition that went into this, a lot of study. That's what I mean by mentally. The emotional part was, I am an introvert, in spite of the fact that I'm here speaking on a podcast. I really am an introvert. And though I do it for work and context specific engagements, I don't tend to like to get in front of people or do things in front of people. Aviation, flying that aircraft, you got to learn a new lingo. You got to learn to talk on the comms, and it is a radio broadcast. Everybody hears what you're saying. Every screw up you make in the air, on the air, to tower, you're going to make mistakes. You're going to struggle. Well, I struggled, at least. Some folks out there are probably more at ease with it. But I struggled with the language. It's very specific, and made a lot of mistakes there. Felt very self-conscious. I didn't understand some of the instructions from tower. One time in particular that it was pretty horrifying for me. And I pulled off onto a taxiway in front of a Seminole, which was a dual engine aircraft, 2 props burning right there. And I pulled out in front of it. He told me, watch out for that Seminole. And I was sitting there thinking, what the heck is a Seminole? Well, I don't know what a Seminole is. And I pulled out and, so I cut a aircraft twice my size off. So anyway, what I mean by emotionally is you got to keep pressing forward. You're going to make mistakes in front of everybody. They're embarrassing, at least for me they were, and they make you feel like an idiot.
I don't know of anybody who is comfortable talking on the radio for the first time, let alone you managing the flying of an aircraft.
Oh my gosh. So anyway, that was the emotional part, I guess. And
the good news is, though, I'll let you continue, but the good news is that learning to fly around the Phoenix area, this is a busy airspace.
Mm-hmm. It's very busy.
So you spend a lot of time on the radio. You spend a lot of time with traffic, dealing with traffic, approach, towers. Most of our airports are towered, at least, Class Delta. And so you get a lot of practice. So most of the country where you go flying elsewhere, you've already got it. So at least you did it at the beginning. Yeah,
I think we have a very busy airspace down here. And we have airports dotted all over the state that really harken back to the flight training from World War II.
Yep.
You see that all over the place, and I can see why they trained the pilots down here. But even though it's busy, we also have really idyllic weather, I think, for flying. Whereas I think pilots up north in
Midwest
maybe Minnesota or up there, up in the Midwest, the North, and especially Alaska, they have a lot more weather challenges on their hands than we ever see here. So it's the environment is nice to us in that respect. I guess to put a cap on the last thing, I said 3 things were challenging to me physically, mentally, and emotionally. Physical part is just the coordination. So you're learning to drive and control a machine that is going in 3 dimensions and a lot faster than you typically do in a car. I got to tell you, the most challenging thing for me was getting all the coordination down for landing. So getting landings right, getting them smooth. The first, I feel like 100 times, the trainer had to grab the yoke. It wasn't 100 times.
And how many times did you hear, look at the end of the runway?
Yeah.
Look at the end of the runway. Look down the runway.
Yep.
Yeah, because we're all doing it. We're looking right over the cowling. Like, why can't I see anything?
Yep. So, anyway, those were the things that it challenged me in every way, far more than I knew I was getting into.
Yeah. Okay. So I gotta double click on this a little bit, because this is kind of new to me. You didn't really have a mentor or somebody you looked up to who was a pilot, or an interest in aviation when you were a kid. It sounds like this just sort of came out of nowhere. This is it's different than I usually hear.
It's actually worse than that. I suppose it is. Like I said, I wanted to challenge myself, but it's even worse than.
Like, why didn't you buy a motorcycle?
Yeah,
instead?
I've done that too. Yeah, done that too. I like. I like those fast things. It would have been a lot cheaper.
To buy a motorcycle.
Well, so when I talk to folks, a lot of folks that have had. I've had motorcycles. I've ridden a lot, but let's just say that a lot of the folks that have motorcycles that I run into here and there, they have some sort of injury, which is always, I got to be on a morphine drip now because my back is all messed up. And
especially dirt bikers.
Yeah, if they lived, then there's some sort of horrendous medical condition that they have to deal with for the rest of their lives. And, I figured I'll just pick something where, I'll just die, that's it. I'm
also a motorcycle rider. So.
I love them. There is risk there, though. I think that,
that's for sure.
Yeah.
Especially here in the winter.
Yeah.
Which is the best time to ride, of course.
Yeah.
At least here. So interesting. Yeah. So I just find it fascinating that you just decided something drove you to aviation. Most people don't think about aviation, right? Mm-hmm. So what was it? Was it that you were living close to the airport and you saw them all the time? Was it, what was it that made you think, I'm going to go over to the airport?
Boy, that's a good question. Like I said, it's worse than not having a mentor or any history there. Actually, my dad was killed in a small aircraft back in /78. So he was not a pilot. He was a passenger in a Beechcraft Bonanza. Uh-huh. The plane took off from Silver City, New Mexico, and the pilot, as best we can figure out, the pilot made an error in his calculation as far as wind direction, took off the wrong way for the wind direction, and just put it down, smashed it into the side of a road there, not too far from the airport. So I actually grew up. That of course that leaves a mark, right?
Yeah,
so
for sure.
I grew up not really. I won't say I ever regarded flying as unsafe. I really didn't. But my mom, on the other hand, had a very different opinion about that, and so I really didn't entertain anything like flying until I was out of the house. But that said, I still didn't really entertain it until this last year, completing it. So, but you're drilling into this, so you're making me think. And I think part of it was sometimes you, sorry, I'm hesitating so much. I'm just trying to think through this. But
Take your time, no worries.
There is, sometimes in life you go through a series of failures. There are things that just don't work out the way you hoped or planned. You cut something short maybe because it just isn't working out, or maybe it's no fault of your own. It just isn't going to happen and there's nothing you can do about it. Or maybe there's a character flaw in you, and you can't stomach finishing whatever it is. But for whatever reason, maybe you have a failure. And I think a big driver here for me was that, without going into a lot about things I was thinking about, I think it's probably a culmination of different things, but there was a need to engage something really difficult way outside my comfort zone, and push it through to the end no matter what it took. It took more than I thought it would, but let's face it, what do you take on that doesn't?
If it's worthwhile, right?
That's worthwhile, yeah. Exactly. So it took me
You're
more.
giving me goosebumps, man.
Yeah,
Aviation, I think, does that for a lot of people. But, yeah,
I guess it was just this need I wanted to finish something really hard. I wanted to engage it, and I wanted to complete it, and I wanted to be able to have something that the next time I go through something very, very difficult, I can look back, I don't know, grab my own bootstraps, so to speak, and just say, I made it through that. I can make it through this. So I wanted to point to a really difficult success and have that in my storehouse of character building, if you will.
amazing. Amazing.
I don't know what else to say. I guess that.
Yeah, that's incredible. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. So I hear that today is a pretty special day. This date is a pretty special day
That's right.
in your aviation history.
Yep. Yeah.
Explain.
It's funny that the date that was totally random. I didn't think about it until I got a reminder on my phone. I have a bunch of pictures saved out in a product called OneDrive, and it's a cloud repository. So I have a bunch of pictures saved out there. And it sends me an email
On this day.
Yeah, pretty much on a daily basis on this day. And then it gives me kind of a collage of different things that happened. So
And I should say we're recording this on April 29th, 2022.
Yep. So this date, which was a Thursday then, today's a Friday, but last last year, Thursday, April 29th, 2021 was my first solo flight. So my instructor had me fly him from Falcon Field over to Chandler, which is only a 10-mile flight, which is like 2 minutes in a plane. But no, it's not that short, but really short. That's very small scale in an aircraft. But he had me land him there.
How busy you are getting a frequency change from Falcon Field and then calling in. You're almost into Chandler's airspace.
Yes, exactly.
Before you can even, level out. You're watching out for the Class Bravo above you.
Yes, from
right?
Phoenix, from
From
PHX.
Phoenix.
Yeah.
And you're dodging the Class Delta of Gateway,
Yep.
Phoenix Mesa Gateway Airport, which has a large Class Delta, actually.
Yeah.
It's larger than most. So you're threading the needle there, right in between. And so by the time you call Chandler, it feels like you just took off.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So I'm with you. Yeah. I've done that many
It
times.
literally does. Yeah. So he had me fly him over there. We practiced a few takeoffs and landings. And then the guy says, okay, taxi me out, and hops out of the plane with his little handheld radio and says, I want 3 full stop taxi backs. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I was in terror. I thought I was going to die.
He probably signed your logbook.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did all of that.
Did you have any inkling that it was that day that it was happening?
No.
He surprised
He
you?
was assessing me in his own mind, but apparently he felt I was ready, but I physically shook. I was terrified. I was terrified. So I did it.
You didn't even bend the airplane.
Didn't even, nope. It went fine. However, I forgot to switch frequencies. I was so stressed out. So when I got down, I circled the pattern, re-landed the aircraft. It was a full stop taxi back. So I was pulling off the runway. I didn't switch to the ground frequency. When I did have the presence of mind to make that switch, I heard a very pissed off tower. But
that's interesting. I also did my solo at Chandler.
Did
it
you?
was many years before yours, not many, but back in 2008.
Yeah.
And back then on taxi backs, if I recall, you stayed with Tower.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. They had
Because you
two
were staying in
frequencies
the
when I
pattern
was
and
there.
everything. So they must have changed their MO.
Okay.
Over there.
Yeah, it's probably gotten a little more busy then. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, or maybe just the traffic that day. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, they had 2 frequencies, and they didn't appreciate my not switching.
Tell me what you were thinking when you firewalled the throttle, nobody next to you anymore. After you got over the fact that the airplane took off way faster, you were a lot lighter.
You're saying the instructor's fat, huh?
I just remember that was one of the first things that went through my mind was, wow, I just got off the ground a lot shorter than I was used to.
I didn't think of that.
What was going through your mind?
Concentration, just focus. In adrenaline high. You know how people, I guess, I don't guess. I mean, when something, say a person gets hurt, but they are on so much adrenaline because of a pressing situation, maybe a dire situation, that they don't feel any pain or anything like that. I felt just sheer focus, concentration, and adrenaline. I got to do this. I got to do this. Just follow your training. And I don't know. That's just what I did. It was just auto mode because I had done it so much, you know?
Yeah. How long had you been training at that point?
So I started at the end of January, got all the medical done, all that stuff. So this was month number 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, you'd probably done it over 100 times.
Pretty green. I don't know if it's 100 or not, but I guess I could check my logbook.
Yeah.
But
yeah. Yeah. Interesting. So was there a sense of excitement as well, or were you just so locked in on concentrating you don't even remember any other emotions?
The emotions were all over the board, from sheer terror to excitement. So I don't really know how to describe that. You would think you'd feel one or the other, but I'm telling you, my legs were shaking from the adrenaline and the fear, both of those things. So there was just a full spectrum of emotion,
that's amazing.
If that's what you're asking.
The good thing is all that adrenaline, everything probably slowed down a little bit for you.
Yeah.
You weren't behind the airplane or anything.
No.
That's good. What about when he crawled back in, your instructor? Tell me how you were feeling then. Did you feel a sense of accomplishment? Were you kind of on cloud 9? Were you thinking, I did it? Like what was going through your mind then? Or were you just relieved to have him back?
All of those things, I would say, all of them. There's certainly that sense of accomplishment. I can't believe I just did that. And then another sense of, oh man, I can't believe I didn't freaking switch frequent. You go over the mistakes.
Start critiquing yourself.
You go over all the mistakes you made. So there's some highs, there's some lows. There's just a whole jumble of stuff there. But yeah, he got in, and he was, of course, very happy and proud of me, and I was almost in emotional zombie mode because of the full spectrum there. But got in. We flew back to Mesa, and they wanted to cut the sweat patch out of the back of my shirt, but I liked my shirt, so I asked that they not do that.
But you do have a shirt on today.
I do have a shirt, and this is my Lesson 13 Survivor shirt. So they at the school that I went to, they give you a certificate and a shirt, and they snap your picture. And the shirt says Lesson 13 Survivor, because Lesson 13 is your first solo flight. And you survived it, so you get the shirt. And they snap a picture of you, like I said, and they put it out there on their Instagram feed, and you get a little certificate. So, yeah.
Nice. All right, so I'm going to ask one more emotion question, and I'll get to some things that'll give you some relief. We'll get into some. But you laid your head down that night. Were you thinking about it? Were you thinking about the accomplishment of it?
Yeah, yeah. There's certainly a high, if you will, that comes with that kind of accomplishment. I can't believe I did that, and even today, right? I got my pilot's license now, and the things in my wallet here, and I'm like, I can't believe I can fly aircraft. I can't believe it. And there may be times,
cool,
there may be times when that is indeed in doubt, but
you're in a very elite group. It's a small number of people that can do that. And that was the first day you did it by yourself. That's the day you really become a pilot.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. That's a big step.
You're
right
not certificated yet, but you're a pilot.
Yeah.
You did it.
You did it by yourself. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I'm so happy to hear that story. So, doing your solo at the end of April, that means you've done some summer flying here.
Yeah.
Tell me what that's like.
It depends on which direction you go. Well, first of all, it's hot. So that can be pretty miserable. So you tend to climb and get yourself up. Yeah. If you can, exactly. Your density altitude is pretty high. But yeah, you usually want to get up 7,000 feet or higher, just to cool things off a bit, because down in the ground here, it can be 110, 115, no problem.
And some people, from the Midwest or back east, that might sound high, but you have to get to over 7,000 feet around here to pretty much go anywhere. Because we're surrounded by mountains. So that's why
I said that depends on what direction you go.
It doesn't. It doesn't compute for some people when you can do a whole flight at 3,500 feet or something. But but around here you kind of have to get up there to go anywhere, especially north.
Yeah. So if you're going, like I said, it depends on what direction you're going. If you're going north from the airport I fly out of, Falcon. You're going to go over this mountain range called the Superstitions. So how does that feel? Well, that for a new pilot like me, it'll wake you up. The reason I say that is because the updrafts will start to hit you as you approach. You'll find yourself in a little aircraft like that, blown right up 1,000 feet, like you're a kite. So you'll feel that. And as you're crossing over some of the, grooves and ravines up there.
The ridges and whatnot.
Yeah, thank you. Once you get up around the tops of them, the ridges and ravines, the wind is getting funneled down through those areas, and you'll get some turbulence. And again, in a small aircraft like you or I fly, that wakes you up. It gives you a sense of what I'm flying
things
through.
You're not in control of.
Yeah, right? Exactly.
It reminds you of things you're not in control
Exactly.
of. Yeah.
It gives you it improves your prayer life tremendously. Yeah. So.
Yeah, and those updrafts that you're feeling, anywhere that air is going up,
it comes down.
It's coming down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you usually run into that a few minutes later.
Yeah. And you have to be very conscious of that, because you have limited power in the aircraft, and really wind and the elements of Earth have a whole lot more power than that little aircraft does.
Sure.
So you can be put down a lot more quickly than the horsepower of that aircraft can raise you up.
Yeah, my listeners have probably heard more than they care to about updrafts and downdrafts as I finished my primary training in the end of July.
Oh, okay.
And did my check
This year?
route. No, 2008.
2008, okay.
And did my check ride in the afternoon in July 26th, I think it was.
Wow. That must have been beautiful and balmy. Yeah.
Yeah, lots of movement. Luckily, they take it into account. All right, cool. So let's set the scene a little bit for your training. You already said you trained at Red Rock Flight School at Falcon Field, which is Foxtrot Zulu.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And what kind of aircraft did you train in?
They're Piper Cherokees. So the school, aside from maybe two of them, one high performance aircraft, which is not the Piper, that's different. And they also have a multi-engine there. Aside from those two, at least while I was there, aside from those two, they had a fleet of Piper Cherokees, so all pretty much the same style of aircraft. So it makes it easy for the students, or at least for me, it did, because I would move from one aircraft to the next, depending on the lesson, whatever aircraft was free. And it wouldn't be too much of a mind bender to wrap your head around the controls when moving around. So
Yeah, that's the same type of airplane I trained in back in
Okay.
2008. I was at a different airport and a different school, but they had the same type of fleet.
okay.
And I imagine I've been over and seen some of Jim and Jordy's airplanes over there. So I imagine that you learned it on steam gauges, not glass cockpit, right? So kind of the 6-pack.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely.
You weren't using Garmin G1000s or
No.
anything like that.
Yeah, they have a Garmin 430 in there
430
for
yeah.
nav. Yeah, for nav, but that's nothing like you see in the
Yeah.
the
So
avionics.
you were
and-
using the round instruments.
Yes, absolutely. The 6-pack, the traditional 6-pack. The plane was quite a bit older than me, so it was from the early 60s.
Yeah.
The airframe, at least.
Yep.
So,
Yep. Same experience that I think a lot of people have for sure.
speaks to a good design, though, I would think.
Right. An age-old design. How did you choose your flight school?
There are several at the I think there are at least 5 at the airport that I fly out of. The reason I chose the flight school I chose is because it had it was more of a family-owned, personal touch type of a school. It wasn't a very large school where just a ton of students and they're just churning people through. I knew I wouldn't survive very well in that type of environment because I guess, as you pointed out earlier, I don't come from an aviation family or anything like that. I knew I would need more of a lower key type of environment, more of a environment that, for lack of a better word, I felt more emotionally comfortable in. And
Totally
that's
valid.
Yeah, that's what Red Rock, the feel for me, it came across that way. It's just a little family-owned shop. It's growing, so it's not as little anymore, but a little family-owned shop, and they were just much more willing to work with me and not, kick you out if you miss this or that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and it doesn't seem small to me. They've got a pretty big operation
yeah,
going over there.
I watched it grow over the time even
Yeah.
that I was there. So it's getting a lot
It's the
bigger
nature
now.
of the business these days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seems to be getting a lot more popular to learn to fly.
Yeah,
I'm not
there's-
sure what's driving that.
Well,
but
there's a lot of demand, and
Yeah.
even now, I mean, there's just not enough pilots. The airlines and corporate aviation, they're all having a hard time finding pilots.
yeah,
So,
I guess it all, again, COVID.
yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it stopped for a couple of years or
Yeah,
a year and a
and all
half,
the-
and
the
now
one-
it's we're basically back to pre-2019 levels, and the forecast is, sky's the limit,
Yeah.
unintended.
Yeah.
So, did you go and interview or at least visit any other flight schools, or did you do all your research online? This kind of stuff is interesting to any of my listeners that may be contemplating getting their license.
My research really was second party, where I
So you did have a mentor.
I don't know that you could call him a mentor. Where I go to church, there was a police officer there that was there, and he would talk about flying and stuff like that.
He's
And
a pilot?
Yeah, and he flew out of Falcon, and he talked about. I think it was Classic Air or one of the other large schools.
Oxford, maybe.
Yeah. So he talked about those. I looked them up, and they looked fine. They looked pretty formal to me. So I was worried about that because I knew I'd need kind of more of the slow train.
Yeah.
And then at my gym, and one of the guys behind the counter was going through flight training, and he told me that he had gone through Red Rock, and he really liked the family feel there, the more smaller, closer attention type of a feel, lower key feel. And I thought, okay, that fits my personality.
And you didn't have to wear epaulets.
Yeah,
right?
There you go. Right. So that's kind of how I made my decision.
It kind of felt like a good fit.
Yeah.
And then you went and visited them.
Yeah.
I presume.
Yeah.
And signed up for that intro flight.
Yep. That's exactly right. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Excellent. So the next question then is, did you get to choose your CFI? Did you talk to several? Did somebody talk to you about what you were wanting and recommend a CFI from that school? Or were you just simply assigned someone?
He was the guy that took me up on the intro flight. I just felt like I get this guy. I felt like he knows what he's doing, and I felt like he can teach me in a I don't know. He wasn't the type of guy that you felt like you were under the thumb with. He was very patient and very smart, very quick. And I felt like, okay, I'm comfortable with this guy. He knows what he's doing, and he's not Mr. Know-It-All, and he's not going to grind on me. He's going to be patient with me. So I stuck with him. I just kept booking appointments.
Did you have him through your whole training?
Yeah, I just kept booking appointments with him and had him through my whole training, probably much to his chagrin, but
Yeah, right. I'm sure he hated
there
it.
were some other instructors here and there that I flew with, but in my case, in my specific case, there may be other people who are more comfortable with doing this, but I wanted to stay in general, by and large, with one person, because I feel like this person has context with me, and that context can carry forward into the lessons. Whereas if I was switching with people, I got different experiences and a more broad experience, but I felt like I had to constantly reset context with that person, and also
pluses and minuses, right?
Yeah, pluses and minuses, exactly.
Yeah. So how many CFIs did you fly with through your training? Because you probably did stage checks, or
let's see,
a couple of times flew with someone else, right?
2 ladies and my standard instructor,
So 3?
a guy, and then 3 other men at least.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
so 6.
Yeah, I think about 6.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. So you
One
did get a
of
little
them was
variety.
Jim. Yeah.
Oh, one of them was Jim.
the owner. Yeah.
Yeah. So does Jim have to do kind of your final stage check before you
No,
do your check ride? Or?
it was more. It was more just based on we need just how scheduling worked out.
Okay.
That particular time or two.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So the age-old question: in 2021, 2022 timeframe, before the gas price rises, how much did it cost you?
Oh my gosh.
Do you even know?
Per hour, I think the per hour cost started when I started. It was probably about 130, and then it creeped up to 140, and then I just took a flight a couple weeks ago, and it was almost 160, and then fuel charge fuel
top of that.
surcharge on top of that, which isn't normal. Usually the airplane is a set rate, wet.
Yeah.
Everything's included, but fuel's gotten so crazy right now that they surcharged on top of that to try to survive. So it has gone up very rapidly.
Yeah, that's kind of the world we live in these days.
Yeah.
So at this point, have you flown any other types of aircraft yet?
I haven't. I would like to fly a high wing, Cessna. I would like to try that. The school I went to doesn't have them, so I probably want to go to one of those neighboring schools and ask, hey, what's it take to get one of your guys to check me out on a Cessna? I would like to see what that's all about, because the Pipers are low wing.
So if you were talking to someone right now, which you likely are, who was interested in getting their private pilot license, what would you tell them?
I guess, boy, that's a highly contextual question, because everybody is coming from a different angle there, I think, as far as their personality. Because some folks are like adrenaline junkies and they're just going to run for the aircraft, and none of the emotional issues I've described today are going to be any issue to them at all. And then you have the apex introverts here that are scared of everything. So I guess I would wonder, what would I tell them? That was the question. What would I tell them? I guess I would just tell them that it will likely be a lot more, get ready for some work. It will likely be a lot more than you expect, and it will push you in every way. And I'm guessing it will be more than you expect, unless you already have some sort of experience with this. I didn't, so my view might be skewed, but be prepared for a lot of work. Be prepared to study. Be prepared to fly patterns over and over and over again ad nauseum until you feel like you can put that thing down safely. And it'll probably take you a lot more tries than you're comfortable with, but you might, in other words, you might feel stupid. I did.
That's good for us, though.
Yeah,
keeps us in our place. Really.
Boy, it does. That puts you in your place. There's no doubt about it. I probably, like I said earlier, landings were it for me as far as hard to get right. I felt like such an idiot so many times, but I would say keep at it. That's normal.
Was it worth it?
It's worth it. That sense of accomplishment. I don't know. Even if I don't do anything more with it, I have something that I can point back to that was really tough. I stuck with it. I finished it, and I can fly a frickin' aircraft. I mean, how many people can say that? I don't know. That really.
Yeah, I know we sometimes forget the bad parts after doing something amazing, like learning to fly. But did you have some lows during your training? And if so, can you describe some of those?
Yeah, the lows for me, I think were two. One was I'm not an onstage type of a guy, and every mistake that I made was in front of everyone. At least in my mind, right? I think
nobody really cared.
Yeah, exactly. It's all in your own head. But screwing up radio calls, sounding like, oh man, that was what an idiot. At least in my mind.
I've put a lot of my screw ups out on my podcast, so because I recorded all of my flights.
Okay.
At least my listeners know that I have a ton of them.
Yeah. So that hit me hard. Am I ever going to get this right? That would be one thing. Another thing would be my screw ups as far as on the ground. a time or two pulling out at the wrong time onto a taxiway or something like that. Because Tower will often identify aircraft by watch out for that Archer or watch out for that Seminole or whatever. And if you're not from an aircraft background, what the heck is a Seminole? You know, what's an Archer? I don't know what that is.
There's a lot of assumed knowledge in aviation,
there's a lot of
Yeah.
assumed knowledge, which I didn't know. I think the big thing for me, though.
Were you looking for an animal or something?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
I haven't heard of a Seminole. Is
Should
that
I
like
shoot
a coyote?
I didn't feel I was ever going to get landings right, but I got them.
I felt like that too, by the way.
Yeah.
I felt like that too
I've
at the beginning.
I've since come to learn that that's pretty normal. And
Yeah, it's kind of universal.
yeah.
Because I'm used to picking things up, quickly, especially something I'm passionate about. And I was frustrated.
Yeah.
I mean, it just takes repetition. It
Yeah.
takes doing it over and over again. And I remember thinking, again, I've recorded all of my lessons and most of my flights since I've been a pilot. And I will say again, I've said it before and I'll say it again, I highly recommend that because it lets you learn from your learning,
Yeah. Right.
And years later, I've gone back and listened to some of it, especially as I've been producing the podcast, and shouldn't have taken me years, but it did. And it kind of takes you back there and reminds you, oh yeah, I was really embarrassed by this.
Yeah.
Or, oh yeah, because I think of it now and I think, hey, flying is awesome. I just love it. But there were times during my training, and I'm guessing you were the same from what you're saying, that I was going, maybe I can't do this.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly where I was going with this. There were times, a few times in the middle of it, that I was like, okay, well, Tim, you gave it a good shot, but
Right.
you're not cut out for this. You're not gonna make it through. This is just, you're a waste of time at this. But I just thought, nope, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do it. I just kept pushing on it.
If nothing else, the moral is perseverance. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Perseverance. Get your head back, get your emotions under control, study if you need to study, practice if you need to practice. Just get it done.
You can do it.
You can do
That's
it.
the bottom line.
And
Well, what about the high points? What are some of the high points you remember of your
high
training?
points I remember are honestly toward the end of the training, when you start to get more accustomed, you start to leave. I don't know, maybe this is too strong a language, but you start to leave behind, and you don't ever leave behind what's on your checklist, but it becomes more automatic to you. Whereas when you're starting out, it's like every single thing is like
Boring.
excruciating. Yeah. Trying to remember it, trying to, I don't know, it takes a lot out of you. But toward the end of the training, where things have started to become muscle memory, when to rotate the aircraft, get it off the ground, when to take out flaps if you're doing a short field takeoff or a soft field takeoff, all of those things, you've done them a number of times. It's starting to become much more
Second nature.
muscle memory.
Yep.
And where am I going with this? You get up there, and I remember I got out of the Delta airspace. Now I'm out over the open desert. The air is beautiful. The sunshine is out. It's morning, so the sun is coming up over the mountains, and I am flying through the air. Just flying. I am flying.
It's sort of spiritual for me sometimes, actually.
I'm just like, I'm flying a freaking aircraft, and it's nice. It's fun. I'm going 130 miles an hour through the air, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful out there. The scenery's beautiful. It's things that
It's a whole different perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And around that time, you've done so many steep turns, for example, you pull a couple of steep turns, or you just kind of get a little bit more playful, of course, within limits of your aircraft, but you're starting to feel comfortable in this. It just becomes a really gratifying, beautiful experience. It really does. A lot of work went into it, and it's starting to pay off, and you're like, wow, I'm doing something that a lot of people don't get to do.
Amazing. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. So you've touched on a few areas that were challenging for you of the training. One was, initially getting the landings down. Would you say that was the hardest part of the training, or was there something else that comes to mind? If you were to pick out kind of the hardest aspect of your training, what was it?
Getting out of my own way. I mean, in an emotional sense.
Okay.
I was my own worst enemy in a lot of ways. Negative thinking, like, oh man, I'm not going to make this. I'm not cut out for this. I'm a joker on the radio or whatever. Mm-hmm. Joker, not in the funny sense. Whatever it is. For me, it was pushing past that and making myself persist past the emotions, the timidity, if you will, or something like that. But yeah, in terms of sheer training, I'd say, just getting the landings right. Yeah.
Most of the maneuvers after some practice weren't too challenging.
Oh, stalling an aircraft on purpose is just, oh man. Yeah, that I'd say the first.
Disconcerting?
Yeah, okay. yeah, disconcerting.
So let me ask you this: have you done it on your own since you've got your?
Since I've got my license, no, I haven't. I did it on. So you have your initial solo, which is the one we talked about earlier, kind of ad nauseum. But you also have some other solos when you're working through this, where you go out to the practice area and you need to perform some maneuvers and then come back, and you've got to do that on your own. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So there, I did go through those maneuvers, and stalling the aircraft was, it's really. The first few times, I won't ever say I'm comfortable with it, but the first few times were, this is not natural. Was one type of stall more disconcerting than others, like a power on with a turn or power off? Which one was more difficult for you? Or maybe both
it was just stalling.
I think they're both, they're both pretty equal. Maybe
losing your stomach and heading down. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Feeling the aircraft just go limp, like the aircraft is saying, I can't do this anymore. I give up. and then it just begins to fall. Yeah. And that feeling is. And this is not what I got up here for.
Yeah, these warriors are pretty benign too. When they stall, they're pretty stable. It's kind of more like a leaf falling.
Yeah.
There's some airplanes that would really wake you up.
Oh, I'm sure. I haven't tried that yet, but no, But yeah, I mean, there's a science to it. You just pull right. I mean, you go through a set of steps and.
Yep.
Pull right out of it, and
that's why we train, right?
Yep.
You just need a little altitude.
Yeah.
If you have altitude, you're fine, right?
Yeah, you don't want to do that 500 feet from the ground. No.
Yeah. Excellent. All right, so you touched on this a little bit, so this might be a little bit of an I don't know answer, but I would love to know what your plans are for the future in aviation.
Yeah. Yeah, so I was entertaining the idea of so I'm getting close to retirement, and or I don't know, close to retirement. I still have
Closer than you were.
Yeah, closer than I was, exactly. But I've been in the IT world for pretty much everything past college. So I thought in my head, maybe I would take this all the way to commercial, but not fly passengers, fly packages. So maybe fly for FedEx or UPS or I don't know, some delivery type of a company, and just get out there in the big jet, fly a cargo somewhere, and just have a peaceful, as long as they'll let me continue, type of a wind down to life. So that was one idea. Now with the expense though, that's kind of pressing me pretty hard, and I don't know if I'll make it there, given my age and the expense and what it took to get the pilot's license.
Sure,
I'm kind of slacking off
but
now.
But you did consider actually flying professionally.
I did, yeah. I thought it would be a nice low-key change to the IT world, which is constant learn, go. Your foot's never off the gas.
Yeah, the way I think about it, if you're a pilot professionally, you're always going to be learning and training and everything. But when you're not training and you're not learning and you're not flying, you're off the clock.
Yeah.
And for people like us who, have customers that we work with and things like that, you're never really away from work.
Yeah.
There's always something sort of hanging over you.
Exactly. That's kind of what I was shooting at. And I think another part of that is that the basics, the dynamics of flying, those fundamentals, they're always there, no matter what. Whereas in my current IT world,
the ground shifts under you.
The ground shifts under you. Some guy that's a third your age will come out with a new thing that changes everything, and oh boy, here we go. Okay.
Yeah.
So
that's true. Okay. Well, what about personally in aviation? I mean, do you want to use it for personal travel? Do you want to do any additional training even if you don't go the commercial route? Do you want to get your instrument rating? Do you want to fly a tail wheel, floats? I mean, is there anything on your agenda or your bucket list in aviation?
Right now, I'd have to say the only thing really that's of interest to me, and we've talked about this, is just I think it would be nice to own a plane with a group of people, just a shared ownership of an aircraft, because being solely responsible for an aircraft, I wouldn't really want to do that. I'd want to share that expense because I wouldn't use it that much, enough to justify that, I think.
Okay.
But just having it, I think it would be kind of nice to have more freedom with your own aircraft, not having to try to being at the mercy of trying to find a rental, and because that's actually kind of hard to do.
Yeah.
To book a plane.
In the rental world, you can't really. It's very difficult to take a plane for a few days on a trip.
Yep.
Yep. So yeah,
exactly. You don't take it off, fly somewhere for a week, and
that's right.
Yeah. No, they want their aircraft back.
That's their moneymaker.
Yeah. Exactly. And also if you rent, you got to rent from the same place, or make sure you're getting the same aircraft, because you have to be familiar with those controls. So.
Yep. Excellent. All right, I've got one more question for you. It's a multi-parter, though, I think.
Okay.
Is your mom still with us?
She passed away in 2020.
Oh,
yeah.
she did. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
Did she know that you were thinking about?
Nope. She did not. So this is after she had passed away.
Okay.
Yeah.
How do you think she would have felt about you becoming a pilot?
She would have been extremely uncomfortable with that. My mom would roll with anything.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she wasn't any kind of a high control person that would have laid some sort of guilt trip on me or anything like that. She wouldn't have done that, but
She would have been uncomfortable.
inside she would have been, I lost my husband to this and I don't want to lose a son, and that would not have, Yeah.
When you mentioned her earlier, I thought of that. I wonder how she felt, but I wasn't sure if she.
No, she.
So
did
she knows,
pass
but
away.
she can't talk to you about it.
That's right. Yeah. Exactly.
So someday you're going to have this discussion.
She's gonna call me out on it. Yep.
Excellent. So is there anybody else in your life, friends, family, anybody like that your journey has gotten them interested? Or maybe there's somebody in your life who's kind of scared of flying who you've talked to about it. Any of those situations?
Mostly just people think, wow, that's cool. You know, that's awesome. That's really amazing. But nobody's hopped up and signed up yet. There are several people at work, because I did kind of share some of the journey with some folks at work that said, "Oh man, I've always wanted to do that," and so they'll ask me
that's
all
what
kinds
I normally
of,
hear.
Yeah,
that's why your story is so interesting, because it's usually, I've always wanted to do that, and I just haven't yet.
Yeah. So I just I tell my I answer what questions I can and tell them my story, and I just tell them if you want to do it, the younger you do it, the better. Because I think the younger you are, the easier it is for you to more quickly learn. And there's, like I said, those three aspects. It pushes you in every way. Mm-hmm. So I think you'll be more comfortable with it as you are younger. And also if you do want to go commercial, the forced retirement, per my understanding, from the airlines is age 65. So if you put in all of this work and this expense, unless you're military, you want to get some payback from it. Mm-hmm. So I would really recommend, if you want to do it as young as you can.
Yeah. Have you had the opportunity to take anybody for their first flight in a small airplane yet?
I took my son up, and he thought it was awesome. He took all kinds of pictures up there.
And just to set the stage here, your son is an adult.
Yeah,
right?
he's 25. Yeah, he's 25 now. He was 24 then. But yeah, I took him up, and he had he enjoyed it. I didn't make him throw up, and he didn't say he was scared or anything. He was.
Tell me about that flight. What did you do?
I just flew over the lakes. So here in Arizona, we don't have any natural lakes. We have man-made lakes, but still they're pretty. So if you fly out of Falcon, and
there's a string of them.
Yeah, they're all in a nice. Nice row along nice row. They're all along
the Salt River.
Yeah, along the Salt River, exactly. Definitely not in any straight line, no, as land formations go. But I went up I took them up over the Superstitions and over Saguaro, and then Apache and Canyon and Roosevelt, and then looped back over to Bartlett.
Oh, okay. North of Scottsdale.
Yeah. And then back into Falcon.
I think that's the McDowell Indian Reservation over there.
Yeah. Okay. And then back into Falcon. Yeah.
That's a great flight.
It was beautiful, and it was in the evening, so the sun was going down, and so you had
one of the most incredible things on that flight that I find, or flights in that direction, when you're flying out below the peaks of the Superstitions, but somewhat close to them, because of those sheer cliffs. Are you familiar with Flatiron? It's that outcropping on the superstitions. It's facing kind of northwest.
Okay.
It looks like a old time iron.
Yeah.
Which is why it's called that. You usually don't have enough altitude to be above the superstitions. You kind of fly next to them when you're headed up to Roosevelt or something like that. I just find it amazing to be looking over at those sheer cliffs and you're below the peaks.
Yeah.
And I don't know. There's something about that is just incredible to me. And you're looking at the beautiful desert, these lakes and mountains. Yeah, it's an unbelievable flight.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, but right now I fly with other pilots who want to go up and build time and just try to stay on top of things. So
awesome. Well, thank you very much for spending this time with me.
No, absolutely, it's been fun. Yeah.
Awesome. Anything else that I didn't ask that I should have?
I can't think of anything else. You're very thorough.
Right. Well, thanks, Tim. I really appreciate it, and this was super fun.
Yeah.
We should do it again sometime when we get more experience.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, jets.
All right. Well, that's it for the interview, but please listen on for a call to action I have for everyone. I do hope you enjoyed our chat and got some insight into another person's experience during his recent primary training. It's always instructive to find out how others' endeavors go in aviation. As usual, I would love to hear from you. I am enjoying getting the notes and comments from listeners again, so keep reaching out. I'll mention once again that I have a call to action for you. And yes, I'm talking to you, my favorite listener. If any of you are currently or have recently completed any flight training, either for your private or a more advanced rating, please reach out to me. I would love to talk to you about your experiences and maybe do a little feature about it on the podcast. My email address is bill@studentpilotcast.com, or you can get a note to me on the website contact form at studentpilotcast.com. On Twitter, I'm @BillWill. That's Bravo India Lima Lima Whiskey India Lima. So don't hesitate. Send me a note. As I said before, it was a great time for me to sit down, in person, mind you, for a chat with Tim. I loved hearing about his experiences and insights, as well as his motivations in aviation. Everyone has different goals and different paths, and this diversity is the spice of any endeavor, including aviation. So while we all have different paths and motivations, don't we all just want to fly? I mean, that's why Tim became a pilot. Music for today's episode is To Be an Angel by the Canadian band Uncle Seth. You can get more information and subscribe to the podcast feeds on the web at studentpilotcast.com. Remember, any instruction that you hear in this podcast was meant for me and for me alone in the situation I was in at the time. Please do not try to blindly apply anything you see or hear in this podcast to your own flying without thinking it through on your own completely. If you have questions about any aspect of your flying, please consult a qualified CFI.